Good morning, Vietnam. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of It's Only Monday podcast. It's a podcast below pepping yourself. It's a podcast make a Monday feel like a Friday. This is the podcast to get your Mondays going. What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in for another episode of It's Only Monday podcast. First thing first, what we always do here is thank God for another day. Some people didn't get a chance to see one today. We did. So our first blessing of the day. Thank you, God, for waking us up today and getting to see another day. Today's episode, what are we talking about? We are talking about thinking small. I know it sounds weird, right? I've had other episodes here, if you listen, about thinking big, big ideas, big goals, all that type of stuff. But I'm looking at things, I'm starting to notice our world is so bombarded with the end result of so many things. Anything you can think of, we have the end result of. You want to be a successful, put anything you want after that. And you can go online and you can find the epitome of that to the extreme, And I think the thing that's kind of a little bit maybe not great for when we are trying to do many things is by thinking big, it's great. I think it's great to think big, but what happens is I think we neglect a lot of the other things. Perfect example is many people will see a successful, and again, insert whatever you want after that, right? And want to become that. But the version they're looking at is somebody that is now doing so many things, like to the point where it's like, you start thinking that like, oh, I could do it. Give you a perfect example. I'm going to go into just like, I want something kind of like, I always speak on, I guess, entrepreneurship in a way, I guess, in business, because it's something that you can kind of put yourself into in any type, because you could be any type of person doing any type of thing. You can just plug yourself into that and turn it into that. You can be a weightlifting coach. You know what I mean? You can be someone helping people with their diets, or they're like a gym guy. You can be someone that's a creative. You can be, there's so many different things. So that's why I say like you can kind of plug yourself into that. But you might look at the version of that of somebody that, is, for example, let's say the gym. You want to become somebody that's very in shape, coaching other people, maybe helping people get to their fitness goals, as well as you being in your fitness goal and, becoming this influencer of sorts, right? But then you go look at someone like Simeon Panda or Mike Rashid. If you don't know who that is, you can Google them. But those are guys that are like at the top of their game when it comes to that. They have, they're in the best shape from an aesthetic standpoint. They, have helped other people get in shape. You can like go to their coaching programs for getting in shape and stuff. And then on top of that, they have supplement companies, and things like that. So it's not just like they are just this like fit influencer or just a gym coach, but they also are business owners and are super successful at it. And you might look at that and you're like, okay, cool. I want to be like that. But you jump into thinking you need to have a supplement business and be at the perfect part of your body and training a whole bunch of people and also having meal programs and also being Mr. Olympia and also like all these things that like is a great grand scheme of things, but you start thinking way too big before you start thinking small. And that's why I'm saying to think small in the sense of, because of social media and because of the internet, we have everything in front of us that we can see that we're like, okay, that's the final product. That's like the ultimate. And then we just skip all these things and try to jump straight to the ultimate of things. And I think that's what kind of messes people up, because you jump into this ultimate of like the best version of what that is, or what's operating at the highest capacity. And then you say, okay, I want to do it like that. And you start spreading yourself thin because you're trying to do all these things that you're seeing the final form of what you want to do, versus starting small. You're at the beginning of this thing. Let's say right now, like whoever I'm talking to right now, you might be at the very, very beginning. If you're at the very beginning, you can't be thinking about, yes, you can, but it's not going to help you to think, okay, I'm going to have a supplement company and this, and I'm going to be this and that and that. And like, you're doing all the things that you see that the person that you want to become is doing. This is why I'm saying today's episode is called Think Small. The reason why I think so is because of social media, it's allowed us to really gun fast and like kind of jump a lot of hurdles and get into a place that was something that you had to really take your time to get into. Most people you see in these positions that have been in there for years and have longevity, if you go back and see their story, it took a lot. There's a lot of little things there that you're missing that they did small steps along the way. But I think now because of social media, we can kind of just become those things right away and, you know, just forego all the other stuff. And that's when you see like things kind of fall flat on their face later down the line. So what's thinking small actually mean? Well, is it the opposite of thinking big? It's not necessarily. I'm just trying to say when you think small, you should be thinking about your bigger plan, but thinking about the small steps you need to take to get there. It's around Christmas time right now, and I watched growing up Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, all that type of stuff. And in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, there's an episode where there's a song and it goes like, put one foot in front of the other and soon you'll be walking out the door. And it's like, I think it was a part where someone was trying to learn to walk or something like that. Old movie. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you can Google it and YouTube it and find it. But it's the same concept, right? We gotta do the thing that's closest to us in front of us now and then take the next step and then the next step and the next step. Jumping with the bigger picture in mind and trying to jump and do the biggest things, will we fall flat on our face? We could. We might not. But the best approach would be taking small steps. And then when I'm saying think small, I'm trying to say, think of your bigger plan, your bigger picture of where you want to be. And then now let's go backwards. And what's the small steps you need to take to actually get there? And then slowly take those steps. You know, it might be the consistency of something. You need to do something. Maybe it's the repetition of something. Maybe it's the fact of having a catalog of something. You know, a lot of people, and this is one thing I always think is great, is having a catalog of stuff before just going with it, right? A lot of people will, you know, do one thing and want to promote it like crazy. But then what happens if somebody likes it, right? And you might have heard this, you know, let's say you want to do a podcast. And you do a podcast, you put your first episode out, you push it like crazy. People like it. But now, you know, they tune in and it's like, hey, where's episode 2? It's not there because it's better personally for me. The way I look at things is, okay, let's small steps, make a whole catalog, build this thing out, you know, make 50 episodes. You don't have to make that many, but make a bunch. Now, when someone comes in and they see it and they like it, they can binge a bunch. They're not just like stuck on, and then you can go into a level of like, okay, now it's promo phase down the line. But I digress. The whole point I'm trying to say is, it's the thinking small aspect to getting to the bigger picture. Second is with thinking small versus thinking big, and I say you still have the thinking big in mind, is being able to be on both sides of the thing. I think, you know, you can come up with an amazing idea, but what happens is because we're in a social media era where you can just jump straight into the end result of things and knowing what it looks like and what it should be like and create what it looks like, you skip the things you're supposed to do that's like in the ground, right? You got the big idea stuff. Okay, that's all up here. The thoughts, the ideas, what I want to build this into, what I want to do, what I want to create, what I want to, you know? And then you got the stuff down here, which is like doing the physical work. And sometimes there's a disconnect, right? Where we want to just do the big idea stuff and think about that and try to implement that and focus so much on that. Or we get too caught up in the just doing the work down there and not balancing the two. So it's a balancing act, right? But this, again, applies to anything. It's going to apply to anything in your life right now. It's going to apply to, it doesn't have to just be something that is a goal or work or something like that or a project. It can also just be something like that you're doing for your own self. You know, let's say, again, back to using like the fitness and health. You want to be in the best shape of your life. It's so easy to go on social media or anywhere online and see, you know, everyone are the greatest. You know, you can find all these people that are in such great shape. Yeah, some are plastic surgery and all those stuff. You got, you know, kind of have a grain of salt. Some of them are like Photoshop. So you got to make sure you're like really being, what's the word? Just have your discernment when you're online looking at these things, right? Especially when it comes to fitness and that stuff. But I'm using it as an example. You know, you might have fitness goals, right? And you want to see the end. And I have my own fitness goals. And this is something that I can relate to. You want to get to the end of it, but the end of it takes time. There's a journey. There's a whole bunch of things you got to do. And those small steps every single day all accumulate, right? And it makes you, think small in the sense of, okay, instead of thinking the final form, like on some Dragon Ball Z stuff, you now are focusing on the, okay, today is, core. Tomorrow is biceps, Wednesday's legs, shoulders on Thursday. Like, you now break it down into small. And that's what I mean by thinking small, because you got to break it down. And the thinking small, again, it's a good catchphrase to say that, because, you might never think small. It just sounds so opposite of like trying to do something big. But the whole point is like, we all heard that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. We all heard the saying, you build something brick by brick. Like, it takes time. And one thing I love about a lot of things nowadays, and this is something like, even for myself as an example, like I always loved like video, film, and art. And the one thing I love, that even since I was like 13 years old, throughout high school, I loved it, and I continue to do it to this day. But one reason why I always loved it, and I've always known this even when I was younger, was there's no timeline to it. There's a lot of things in this world people can try to go to as a goal and stuff that is finite, meaning that there's a clock ticking. You can't do it forever. But when it comes to the art and the fashion, the art, and because I used to airbrush stuff and make clothes, but when it comes to the art and the video stuff and all that kind of things, there's no timeline on that at all. You can do it to the end, and the reason why I'm saying there's no timeline in the sense of the success also, meaning you can work at it every single day until you're underground. You know what I mean? So like the clock doesn't stop ticking until the clock stops ticking. So there's no thing of like, oh, I need to do it within this time period, because if I don't, like, it's over. No, you have this long period of time. Obviously you want to do it sooner than later, but the whole point is like, there is no block there. And that's something I've always loved. There's no block, there's no gatekeeper, there's no one that has to green light you. There's a lot of things that you can kind of really do, especially in this era with social media and stuff. It's really, you can put it out to the people. You can find your people that, enjoy what you create. And the thing is, they don't have to be in one spot. They don't have to be in your city. They don't have to be in your school. They don't have to be in your province or state. They don't have to be even in your country. They can be anywhere. So that's another thing to think about as well. And again, that's more of I don't even want to say the bigger thing, because that's the smaller thinking, because you can even think small in the sense of how to reach out to that. But another thing, it's just another thought I was just having, in the sense of, you don't have to worry about like a clock ticking for certain things. Like some goals are goals that like, oh man, this goal, I can't do it forever. Like, let's say sports is a good one. You want to play any sport. It's usually sports is a younger person's game, right? So like, if that's your goal when you're younger, coming out of school, is great, but there's a time clock, because eventually, our bodies get older. We can't, uphold it forever like that. And there's younger people coming in all the time. So depending on the sport you're trying to play, you have a very finite time to either actually play it or, become successful at it. So that's another thing why I've always loved video and art and stuff, because it's also a thing that I can do when I'm 90 years old. You can paint, you can draw, you can make a video, you can direct, you can edit. Like, there's no stopping that. So that's just something to think about, to chew on. So like, whatever your goals are, to maybe even think small in the sense of, or thinking big, but that that it's not this thing that has to be done in 30 days where you're like, oh my God, it's a failure. A lot of times too, people put too much short periods of time on the things you want to do. And it's kind of weird, because you want to do something and fulfill a goal or whatever it is, but then you think it has to be done within like 6 months. And if it's not, you're like, oh, it's a failure. And it's like, it's not, man. You have so much time, and the thing is, like, when you really look at the world and you take back the curtain and really look at things the way they are, there's so many answers that make so much sense for certain things that you're like, oh, okay, like not everything is as it seems. And also certain things that are there's a lot of things in the background that you're like, okay, that's why that worked out and stuff. So anyways, the whole point today I want to talk about thinking small is just to make sure that you take things step by step. That's all it is. It's not thinking small in the sense of like, oh, you know what? I want to make $1 million a year, but you know what? Oh, let me think small. I'm only going to make, 50,000 a year. No, it's not saying that. It's saying, all right, cool. That's what you want to do. what's the steps that you could take every single day to get to that? And then again, I'm just using numbers and stuff because it's something to apply to. Anything you have that's your goal, put that in there and then find a way to take the small steps to get there. Because right now, we're seeing the end result of everything. We're seeing the end results of whatever it is. You want to be, the best basket weaver. I'm pretty sure you can go on social media and find a basket weaver that is killing it. It has millions of followers and, has multiple basket businesses and is doing this and that. And then you're like, whoa, I need to be doing that. No, you need to start by weaving your first basket and your second and your third and your fourth. And, it's really the step by step. So I know we're in a time where I think everybody sees the end results of things. Everyone thinks they can kind of skip and jump ahead of a lot of stuff, which you can. But I think it's time that, again, this is just for one person out there. I speak for just one person in the sense of like, I'm just hoping this connects with one person. If it connects with 10 or 20 or 30 or 100, amazing. But I'm really just trying to find that one person right now that might be kind of questioning and thinking about something. And this is something that I thought about. And I'm hoping that like you're like that person that I have a random conversation with and you're like, yo, that clicked, that helped me. Right. So that's all this is about. So this Monday morning, I want you to I used to say do the homework. So this week's homework is to think small. And by thinking small is thinking about the small steps you can take for your bigger goal. And stop thinking about for a second, like all the things at the very end of the rainbow of how it looks like, when you find a pot of gold and it's everything. No, so let's take it back and let's think about each piece, each coin that you need to get. Okay. And slowly build it out in real time, still keep the bigger picture in your mind, still have that vision. Don't get rid of that. But let's start doing the actions one by one, because what happens is you can get so stuck on the bigger vision that it stops you from doing the actual actions you need to do to get to that bigger vision. It's very true. It can happen. You can be there and you're like, oh man, like you just start thinking so much about the bigger picture that like you are unable to take action, because what happens is you're like, okay, this is the bigger picture, but oh man, I don't have, and then you start thinking about things you don't have. And I have an episode on, start with what you have. You can go check that episode out. Don't know what number it is, but you can see it there. But about starting with what you have is really about just using the things that you have. And kind of like with this thought process of thinking small is, using it and starting and doing things one by one. Trust me, at the end of the day, there's an amazing quote I love to say, and you've probably heard it. Everyone overestimates what they can do in a day and underestimates what they can do in a year. Pretty straightforward, but if you are kind of like, well, what do you mean? At the end of the day, you make a to-do list for the day. You're like, I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to clean my whole house. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this bunch of work. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go see a friend. I'm going to go hang out. Like you make this crazy, ridiculous list and you realize you can only probably do half of one thing for the actual day or one of the things versus, thinking about a year and slowly work on things every single day and what you can accomplish in a year when you look back. I've even had that, where I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, wow. Like, you know what? When I start looking at my days and my weeks, it's like, but when I look at the year, I'm like, oh, shoot, I did a lot, So focus on that. Because again, those are the small steps that like really break out into something that you're like, wow, I did all of this. Whoa. And it's amazing because you don't realize it while you're in it until you get to the other side and you look back. So again, think small steps towards your bigger goals. It's not think small. Don't think small. I still want you to think big. I still want you to have bigger goals and I still want you to strive for the best of everything and whatever it is you want to do. But think small steps to get there. All right. Anyways, guys, this has been another episode of It's Only Monday podcast. Your homework this week is to think of the small steps you need to start taking every single day that's going to get you to what you need to be. Listen, I have this one saying I say, do something today that your future self is going to thank you for tomorrow. It could be so small. Like, today I didn't feel like working out. Honestly, I did not feel like working out. I wanted to so bad. I took pre-workout, all this stuff, and I still was just not feeling it. And a lot of things is, a lot of people will talk about the difference between motivation and discipline, right? Motivation is a great thing. It's a good thing that really pushes you a lot of times. But a discipline is something that you need to maintain, because there's going to be days you're not going to want to do things. And today was a day like that. So I still went in, knocked it out, went through the motions. And, not even my tomorrow self, but myself, maybe I'd say next year or 2 years from now is going to actually appreciate today's workout. And you might say, well, what is that? Well, because it's going to be accumulation of a bunch of things. But by not missing this workout, it didn't throw off the rest of my week. It didn't allow me to miss, it actually matters every single time. And if you apply it to anything else, it all matters. So again, do something today, this Monday morning, or the rest of the week. Do something this week that's your future self is going to thank you for. Whatever it is. It could be anything. I don't know. Whatever you're doing, whatever your goals are, it is what it is. And if you move like that every single day, you eventually have a life that your future self will just thank you for, because you're just making all the decisions and doing the right things that you need to be doing. And those right things you might not know how right they are. You might be thinking like, okay, cool. Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? You don't know, but try it, figure it out, see what happens. And when you get to the other side, if it's the wrong decision, in the sense of, I wanted to try this to see if this would make this work and it didn't. Cool. Now you learned. Again, one thing I'll say is someone said L's are for learning. And I like that quote. All your L's are for learning. And if you can look at life in the sense of anything that happens, you can turn it into a positive, whether that's a learning moment for you, or something that that, okay, cool, that didn't work, I can do it this way. It all works out for you at the end of the day. It's accumulation of everything. Learning what to do and what not to do is also a big thing, right? So you have a goal and you want to reach a certain place with it, but you don't know the right path. Try different things. If that doesn't work, now you know. And also, if someone ever needs help and they have a conversation with them, you can always say, hey, bro, don't do this because I tried it this way, it didn't work, blah, blah, blah. There's that too. There's also wisdom in there. So yeah, that's it, man. So again, just to reiterate, homework for the week: think small steps towards your bigger goals, break those down and start doing those every single day. And yeah, that's it, guys. So thank you for tuning in for another episode of It's Only Monday podcast. You can be anywhere in the world, but you are here with your boy, JT. I'll catch you in another one.